Hello, welcome to the Self Learning Platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we are going to start Unit 2, Plato, and our topic is Philosophical Foundations of Plato's Political Theory. The first one is Socratic base. The Socratic influence on Plato is well known. Professor Maxi writes, in Plato, Socrates lived again. The unrivaled protagonist whose matchless logic, flashing irony, and sovereign intellect dominate the writings of Plato was no mortal of flesh and bone, but an apotheosis Socratic, speaking not only what the actual Socrates might have spoken, but also what the resplendent imagination of Plato would have him say. How much of what is ascribed to Socrates in the works of Plato is of genuine Socratic origin, and how much is of Platonic inversion, we cannot tell. But it is certain that the genius of Plato deserves no less credit than the influence of Socrates. There was never a time when the Socratic image was out of Plato's mind. Plato would never find himself complete without his master, Socrates. He wrote with a sense of pride, I thank God that I was born in a Greek and not barbarian, a free man and not a slave, a man and not a woman, but above all, that I was born in the age of Socrates. It is well said, as George Sabin says, that the fundamental idea of republic came to Plato in the form of his master's doctrine that virtue is knowledge. The proposition Sabine writes for Plato that virtue is knowledge implies that there is an objective good to be known and that it can in fact be known by rational or logic investigation rather than by intuition, guesswork, or luck. The God is objectively real, whatever anybody think about it, and it ought to be realized not because men want it, but because it is good. Plato gave his teachers doctrine, virtue is knowledge, a prime place in his philosophy. Like his teacher, Plato firmly believed that virtue can be attained through knowledge. He, like his teacher, was convinced that human nature has four elements: reason, courage, temperance, and justice. Through these, a man could attain virtue, which makes man capable to work towards his end. It inspires man. From Socrates, Plato learnt that the ruler, like a physician or a navigator, is an artist, and to that extent, administrator or administration is an art. Accordingly, taking a lesson from his teacher Socrates, Plato urged that the ruler should be one who knows the art, science, and knowledge of administration. Socrates used to say, The public is ill. We must cure our masters. The Socratic imprint on Plato can be observed in every sentence the pupil write. Socrates was Plato's hero, the character from whose mouth Plato spoke, both for himself and for the master. In most of Plato's writings, Socrates was seen almost everywhere, particularly in the Republic. One may conclude with Sabine. It may very well be then that some considerable measure of the political principles developed in the Republic really belonged to Socrates and was learned directly from him by Plato. However, this may be the intellectualist cast of the Republic, the inclination to find salvation in an adequately educated ruler is certainly an elaboration of Socrates' conviction that virtue, political virtue, not excluded, is knowledge. The next point is theory of ideas. Theory of forms or ideas is at the center of Plato's philosophy. All his other views on knowledge, psychology, ethics, and state can be understood in terms of this theory. His theory of forms or ideas, taken from the Greek word eidos, is so interrelated to his theory of knowledge that they can be understood together. Following Socrates, Plato believed that knowledge is attainable and believed it to have two essential characteristics. One, knowledge is certain and infallible. Two, that it is to be contracted with which is only appearance. Knowledge, being fixed, permanent, and unchanging, is, according Plato, identified with the realms of ideal as opposed to the physical world, which is seen as it appears. In other words, form, idea, knowledge all constitute what is ideal, and what appears to the eye is actual. There is thus a difference between what is ideal and what is actual, between what are forms and what are appearances, and between what is knowledge and what is an opinion, and between what can be and what it is, or what it is becoming. Plato's theory of forms or knowledge or idea is found in Republic when he discussed the image of divided line and the myth of the cave. In the former, Plato made a distinction between two levels of awareness, opinion, and knowledge. Claims and assertions about the physical or visible world are opinions. The higher level or awareness, on the other hand, is knowledge because their reason is involved. The myth of the cave, as discussed by Plato, described individuals chained deep within the recesses of a cave, where the vision is restricted and no one is able to see another man. The only visible thing is the wall of the cave. Breaking free, one of the individuals escapes from the cave into the light of the sky. With the aid of the sun, that person sees for the first time the real world. telling his fellow men that the only thing they have seen heretofore are shadows and appearance, and that the real world awaits them, if only they are willing to struggle free for their bonds. The essential characteristics of Plato's theory of forms would thus include: there is a difference between form or idea, knowledge and appearance, actual or opinion, as there is difference between the ideal or invisible world and the physical or visible world. The form is the ultimate object of appearance. The actual world can attain the ideal world. Knowledge can replace opinion and is attainable. The visible world is the shadow of the real world. What appears to be is not the form, but is a form of the form. Plato explained that there is a difference between things which are beautiful and what beauty is. Former lies in the realms of opinion, while the latter in the realms of knowledge. What is more important is Plato's insistence that the journey from appearances to form is possible through knowledge. Plato has conceived the forms as arranged hierarchically. The supreme form is the form of the good, which, like the sun in the myth of the cave, illuminates all other ideas. The forms of the good, that is, the idea of the good, represents Plato's movement in the direction of attaining goodness. In a way, the theory of forms, as propounded by Plato, is intended to explain how one comes to know and how things have come to be as they are, and also how they are likely to attain their ideals. Plato's theory of form is closely related to his belief that virtue is knowledge. According to Plato, the idea of virtue is the idea of action. The ultimate object of virtue is to attain knowledge. The knowledge of virtue is the highest level of knowledge. Knowledge is attainable, and so is virtue attainable. Plato's theory of form has been extended by him to his political theory. The types of rulers Plato sought to have should be those who have the knowledge of ruling people. Until power is in the hands of those who have knowledge, states would have peace, so thought Plato. Here we want to wind up this lecture. Thank you so much for your attention.